I'm a communications guy, and my job
Oh,
is
he's
to
a
communicate.
communications guy.
My job is to explain
Okay, we're live now.
operations and maintenance on septic tanks.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the show.
Okay.
We are the Crafty Boys, and we sit around once a week and talk about beer and pretty much anything else that pops into our minuscule brains. I'd like to welcome everybody. I am Shane, and I'm going to pass it off to the Islanders.
All right. Well, hey, I'm Alan. I'm in Victoria. Up north to
Dave?
Dave.
In the Comox Valley, or near enough, which is about midpoint on the island.
And live via satellite from a boathouse on a lake in Ontario.
Yep. Lockie Fulton here with tall cans galore.
Whatever he could find in Ontario.
So, how's it going, boys? Everything good? Nothing exciting going on? Just sticking your head into septic tanks, that's about it?
Yeah. Well, it's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it, I guess.
That is absolutely correct, sir.
Well, I'm just going to introduce the beer because it was my beer this week, and I was trying to go thematic, mainly because I have a very small announcement. I got a new T-shirt.
Oh, that is a mighty fun.
And guess what? It glows in the fucking dark.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Okay, we got to see this. We got to see this.
Well, I don't. Well, let's see. I don't know how well it's gonna. No, it's not gonna get dark enough. Well, actually, hang on.
All right, so he's gonna turn off the lights. He's gonna show us.
All right, let's see if
just
this works.
how.
Let me put these back in here. I'm gonna turn off this monitor. All right, let's see. Does it actually?
Okay.
Oh, I can see it flowing.
Maybe a little. I'm gonna put lock.
Yeah, a little.
Tiny bit.
Yeah.
I did actually I had actually forgot it glowed in the dark, and
how could you forget that?
Well, I took the sticker off, and because I just got it. It showed up like last week, and I just today went out to Red Truck with my parents who were in town, and walking back into the suite, it was still dark. I had yet to turn on the light, and I looked down, and there it was, glowing very brightly, actually, to be honest. But that's why actually I picked this beer. I felt that this week's beer, the Hound of the Barkerville, was actually a theme, because I got the T-shirt on the same day I was thinking about it. So, I'm a little nostalgic, mainly because since I'm an English nerd from my schooling, I'm a fan of Doyle, the man who created Sherlock Holmes, and this is actually one of his stories, The Hound of the Baskerville. So,
okay.
So it's a story of his, published in 1902, serialized in 1902, published I think in 1905 or something as a one volume. Hi, Allison. Would you like some of the beer? So, did anybody else get this one? Except for minus Locke. I'm assuming you guys found it. Yeah, Dave?
I got it.
All right. I'm going to do my pour. Let's all do our pours.
All right, let's see that.
There we go. That's looking pretty nice. Now, this is a brown ale, which I was looking up to see what a brown ale actually was. There you are. I'm going to pour mine now. Is that okay? Okay, excellent. But basically, brown ales seem to be sort of, well, to me, they're kind of between Guinness and everything else. So, and if you know me, I live in a building with a lot of other people, and you know what kind of beer they give me in order to do computer work for them? Guinness, and only Guinness.
Really?
So, it's looking pretty nice. What do you guys think?
It is nice.
I like the look.
Locke, have you actually had this beer before?
I have not had this beer before, and I'm starting to wonder. Well, taste it first. How should I?
It tastes good. I really like it.
Ah, okay.
Now, the brown ales, of course, are beers that are of brown in color. But I gather it's because they used a there's a light hop to them.
Yeah.
And
very light.
yeah, what have you got there? What is the flavor you're feeling? Sorry, not that I meant to ask.
Yeah, it's a very malty kind of flavor. There's a little bit of a hint of hops, but really not much at all. Yeah, I really like it. I mean, I guess it depends on what you're going for, but this is a good beer.
Now, the thing that I did read about these beers is that they disappeared for a while. Where I guess that the style of the stuff that they were using to make it, which I think was Locke, help me here.
Barley and hops and water.
I'm trying to remember. There was a particular type of grain they used. But anyway, whatever. But then they vanished for a while. Apparently they fell out of favor with the British public back in like 1800 or something. So they vanished for a good 20 years or so, and then returned with a vengeance. Because I guess, I mean, this is a carbonated one, but I gather you get a lot of this sort of brown ale, which, of course, in England is called a bitter, which I think is not the same as this, but I don't know.
No, I would say not.
So. But Locke, you've been to England many times. I mean, is this sort of
a bitter should be hoppy. It shouldn't be.
It's got a slight hop to it. It's not a lot. It's not an IPA.
It's a hint.
How malty? Does it have a sweetness to it at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you see, I don't know if you want your bitters to have a sweetness.
No.
So I mean, a brown ale, all right. So.
But I mean,
good. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Would you describe it as balanced?
Balanced, yes. It is very. I think
I would say so.
I would describe this as very balanced because it's got that. It's not the powering smack of the hop, but it's not entirely gone, and it's not overpowered by anything else. So there is a slight sweetness to it, which I kind of like. Wouldn't be something I would drink, I think, excessively, but well, maybe I would. I don't know. But we'll find out next week. So yeah, I mean, I was kind of thematic. I was kind of, it's September, and Halloween is a couple of months away, but I'm kind of, excited about Halloween this year. I don't know why. I usually am not. I mean, I don't usually dress up or anything. But,
it's on a Saturday this year, I think.
Oh, even worse.
That's a prime party night.
This is true.
I think we might have to have a party this year.
And we were also, we actually, I'd forgotten, but we'd also talked about the new Ghostbusters last week. So,
yeah.
When I finally pulled this out, I was like, oh yeah, I should have worn this for that. But so I give this one a thumbs up. I think that, especially, I mean, I actually had to look up where the brewery was, and they're in Quesnel. And I seem to recall driving through Quesnel once, a long time ago. Quesnel's not that big, at least from the highway.
Where is it?
It's, I would say, about 2/3 of the way to Prince George.
Okay.
If not, well, it's probably more than that, but it's not. It's a good, I don't know, 150 clicks outside of Prince George on the way there. So, sort of almost the halfway point between like Williams Lake and whatever. So, whatever. Prince George has just become whatever. So yeah, and I don't know, and I went back about 10 or so episodes. I'm trying to find out if we actually had any other beers that were out of Quesnel. But I don't think we have.
No, I don't think so.
And Barkerville, of course, is a tourist bump in in British Columbia where you can essentially travel into the past of what it was like in BC during, the Old West. Have you
The
guys actually been to
Gold
Barkerville?
Rush.
I think Gold Rush sort of speaks more of that.
Yeah.
Gold Rush, yes, Gold Rush, yes, true.
You remember that? Remember that old show that was on like Check Six and I think on a couple other stations as well in BC called like Gold Rush and Ghost Towns or something. It was just like two guys wearing like a lot of denim in in a set that looked like an old cabin, and they would just talk about like Gold Rush and not ancient stories, but stories from the mid 1800s and stuff in BC. And a lot of times they talked about Barkerville.
That's true. I mean, Barkerville. I mean, it's apparently the goal of Barkerville, from what I understand anyway. I've only been there once, and that was a very long time ago. Is to try to illustrate what life was like back then. And they've tried, like, there's actors there usually during the touristy sort of summer months, where they act.
I love
character.
that. Yeah.
Sorry, have you actually been there, Locke?
I haven't been to that one specifically, but I go to those kind of things on a regular basis. So the one just north of Bryce Lake that I've gone to is Lang Village.
Right.
And they do an excellent job. They've got all the way to a blacksmith. Like in the house, one of the houses they've got there.
Right.
They regularly make cinnamon buns using a old sort of fireplace kind of baking.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that kind of stuff is great when people do it for more than one reason. One being that it's neat and it's fun to do, but also those skill sets, if you lose them entirely, now you really don't know what to do in a blackout. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that I expect the apocalypse to happen anytime soon, but, like, it's valuable knowledge to be able to know how to get by without relying on stuff, right?
Yeah. I was actually at a pub yesterday called the Seven. The hell's it called? Seven? It's called Seven. Seven something. Seven. Oh my God, I can't remember.
Seven angels, seven demons,
I
battle for.
was there for an improv show, and I got to perform a little bit. But while we were there, somebody was mentioning zombies and things, and it sort of got me thinking about where would I go if there really was a zombie outbreak. Because a few weeks ago I was watching a television program about whether or not zombies could really occur, as depicted in literature and whatnot in TV. And there apparently are three specific
Yeah.
I want to say viruses that could, in theory, affect the brain, where people wouldn't be necessarily undead, but they would be more like the rage virus from what is it, 20-something days later, whatever it's called. And essentially, people would be insatiably hungry, and they'd eat anything, and they'd be very angry about it. So I kind of thought, okay, where would I go? And I started kind of looking at all the buildings, especially here, thinking, okay, all right, so my building where I live, I live on the second floor. That's probably a good floor because if I had to jump, I would survive. So what would I do? Would I pad the front door with some sort of padding that if I did actually hit the ground, that I wouldn't die or break anything? And I actually walked in. This is just this morning. I walked in the stairwell because our elevator is broken again, and I was walking up the stairwell carrying Serendipity, who can't walk, and I was pretending that, okay, on this top of the stairs, so the stairs are here. Okay, if I got to this section, I'd hit a button, and then this gate would roll down, and then I get to the next set of stairs. I'm like, okay, this is like putting another gate here, and and then when I get to the top of the stairs, I hit another button on the wall, and automatic turrets descend from the ceiling and just start getting ready for anything to come in. So yeah, I have an overactive imagination apparently, but but again, with this past weekend, Vancouver suffered from an incredible windstorm. Actually, Victoria did as well. And I don't know, did it hit you guys up there in the Comox hellhole?
It hit us, but I don't think it hit us near as hard as you guys got hammered. I was actually wondering if you lost power.
I didn't. It's very rare that we lose power in this area because we're apparently on the hospital grid. So the hospital has a bit more robust system or something, and they're also still toying with the idea of putting a hospital just on the other side of the tracks of us. So, and anyways, so we had, we didn't lose power, but a lot of people did. We had something like 800,000 people without power, and a lot of them for like 3 days, more than 3 days. So, yeah, I mean, when that kind of stuff happens, you start thinking about what you're saying, Locke, that. What the hell would I do to survive if... Because what are we supposed to be prepared for? 72 hours or something without help from anybody when we have a large major earthquake? So who knows? It kind of wakes you up, and we started thinking about we as individuals have prepared a little bit, but not a whole lot, and we probably should
Think
get
about
better at it.
Think about how long some of the lucky people in New Orleans had to go without any help, or
Go weeks and weeks and weeks.
It's funny. In North America, we all talk about New Orleans as the last major disaster because it's just easy to recall. It's a political point that gets thrown around quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah.
What's bizarre is how little anybody talks about what happened in the tidal wave that hit Thailand. I mean, the number of deaths involved there, like, astronomical.
That was in 2004, I think.
Embarrassingly, I'm going to say I think so, but I don't know if I quite remember exactly.
I'm going to look it up here because I'm actually good. Yeah, 2004, the Indian Ocean earthquake. Yeah, I mean... casualties, 280,000 dead and more missing. So, and then of course there is the one off of Japan that caused the grief in 2011, I think, with the Fukushima reactors. And all that kind of stuff. So now there's like places, there's an area around Fukushima Fukushima. Where you can't actually go anymore because they are contaminated.
So it's the Chernobyl of Japan.
Yeah, I mean this is, and actually my parents were in Hawaii at the time, and they were called the tidal wave alarm went off, like the big siren. And
for that matter, they had Japanese motorbikes washing up into Fino.
Yeah, well, actually, it was just in the newspaper a couple days ago. A fishing boat came ashore somewhere just south of Prince Rupert, and so they had the information about who owned the boat on it, I gather, or somehow they figured this out. So they called Japan and said, "Hey, dude, your boat's here." So the fisherman actually flew to BC just last week to check out his boat. It had a bunch of damage to it. Some of the gunnels had been busted and stuff like that, but the thing was still floating. So, and that's how many years now? Like 2011, I think.
That's all right.
I'm just looking it up.
That's amazing. The thing had never been spotted before now.
Well, that's the thing about the ocean, man. I mean, you think about how big the Earth is. We're not a small planet, but we're not massive. But there are lots of places where you can go where you don't see people ever. The Arctic, for example, in Canada specifically. Then you have like the middle of the bloody ocean, which is like 3-4 times the size of any continent. So, and then actually just I don't know what the hell this episode is really going to be about, but they're talking about the moons around Saturn and Jupiter, and which one was it? Io? I can't remember. One of the moons of Jupiter. They just released what they think, calculating basic of what they think the planet is like underneath all the ice, and there's something like 8 times the amount of water as in on our planet.
I gotta suspect that's Europa.
Was that Europa? Okay, there we go. So
Yes.
yeah, but there's so much water, like liquid
Wow.
water, that is under some 3 miles of ice or something. That there's more of that than we could fit on this rock. So it's kind of interesting about how all of this stuff is so incredibly cool, inaccessible. But at the same time, we have things like earthquakes that occur, and then suddenly nuclear reactors are melting down. Which is kind of... Now, here's the strange thing about Fukushima, and this is just basically me being a dick, but if I were to build a nuclear reactor, I would not build a nuclear reactor on the ocean. Like, I would not put it up against the water with a very nice view. Would not be my first choice, because tidal waves do occur, and we've had, a couple of three major tidal waves in the last 15 years. I was mentioning my parents; they were in Hawaii, and that's quite a ways away from where the earthquake was. So they all went to high ground, and I gather that the shoreline sort of business district, like where all the touristy things are and stuff like that, was just wiped out, and that was only a 12-foot wave by that point. So it did a lot of damage that far away. I mean, we keep talking about potentially the coast being hit with a tidal wave, and people say about Vancouver's vulnerable and this kind of stuff. I suppose you could actually be worried about that if the earthquake happened right offshore in the middle of the strait. But I gather that's the least likely place for these things to occur. It's actually off the coast of Vancouver Island, so Washington State.
Vancouver Island will shield Vancouver, I would imagine.
Thanks, man.
We'll take the brunt of it. Dave and I will stand on the beach defiantly at the wave and say, "No, you can't take Shane and Lockhart."
Now, okay. Now,
you shall not pass.
Backing up. Does anybody else here besides me, given that we've just talked about earthquakes and tidal waves and outer space all in one sort of little blip there? Thank you, Shane.
That's my brain.
Has anybody else ever looked at essentially the sort of house sound kind of area, like the whole sort of where the Juan de Fuca plates and all the other plates all sort of seem to conjoin, and you look at the area sort of just south of, say, the Gulf Islands. Has anybody else here ever looked at that area and thought to themselves, like, at a distance, like I'm talking about a biggish map, looked at that area and thought to themselves, okay, you got a bunch of plates and production there, and what does that look like objectively? If I think about it in terms of this big ball that's whipping through space, what is that? Is that an impact site? I mean,
an impact site of in-house sound?
Like in
the
impact craters, typically they think of inland ones that aren't covered by water. But look at how the geology interacts there, and tell me those don't look like cracks stemming from one mother of an impact.
Yeah, it's possible.
Has that ever occurred to you?
No, it's never occurred to me. But
in the area, consider that you get regular volcanic activity. Consider that in terms of the Earth's crust, it's one of the spots where there seems to be, let's just call it damage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you look at any map of Bowen Island and Gambier and all that, in that sort of region there, I mean, that to me is not. I mean, it kind of looks. I suppose it could be. If it is, it would be a really old one.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm not thinking it's recent. Something that big, if it were recent, would be a lot more obvious.
We would have felt
By the
it.
way, I got to stop everything here right now because
Yeah.
I've had my Sparkhouse Red Ale, which was tasty and all right. Actually, what it reminded me of a lot was Tree Brewing's Thirsty Beaver.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was quite similar, and that's, in my view, no bad thing. Um, but I just took a taste of this Gravenhurst beer, this Sawdust City Brewing Company, and boom, hello, what's this? This is a tasty beverage. This is hoppy in an exciting way. It's fat tuggish.
Wow.
What? There's another Fat Tug out there?
I'm not saying it's fat tug, but it's fat tug-ish. Wait, let me say, it's 6'5". Okay, it's not quite fat tug. Fat tug's more like 7'2" or something.
Right.
But the hoppiness and the balance of the hop, this is wow. Thanks, Ontario.
Hey, Locke, how far away are you from Hollyford?
Hollyford. I have no idea where Hollyford is.
It's in Ontario. I'm just trying to figure out
Ontario's a
where
pretty
exactly.
small place. You should know where it is.
Yeah, Locke, come on. What the hell? Sorry, I'm actually looking it up because
Mostly I know everything, but occasionally something slips, and I apologize for that.
I'm just trying to see exactly where it is. Okay, no, it's nowhere near where you are at the moment. It's north of. It's quite close to Kingston. Close as in, about 20, 30 clicks north. You got me thinking about impact craters.
I was there yesterday.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
So, Locke, you said something recently that has me surprised. You were talking about Thirsty Beaver, and you like Thirsty Beaver?
Yeah, well, what can I say? I mean, it's not a go-to of mine, but I'll tell you when I'm in the middle of the Rockies, dealing with small municipality style of beer stores, and it's late and the proper liquor store is closed, and I'm looking for a beer that I can drink that isn't going to get on my nerves, and yeah, Thirsty Beaver, that's always a
Really?
sight.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably go cutthroat over that, but if they've got Thirsty Beaver, hey, they've got Thirsty Beaver.
All right. Maybe I'll have to give it another try. I've had Thirsty Beaver before a few times, but it's been many, many years, and I didn't like it back then. But that could have been having to do more with the company I was with at the time instead of the beer itself.
all those hookers, they didn't appreciate the beer.
Well, no. Okay, so I used to do theater and comedy and stuff, and there was this one place that was a bit of a dive that we used to perform at. It was I can't remember what it was called, but it was where Hunter's Bar and Grill was on Yates Street,
Yeah.
and there was that downstairs area.
Oh yeah.
There was sort of like that really gross bar. Anyway, some guy, he opened it up down there, and so we went down there and we were performing there, and it was there we later found out that after hours this place was being used as a set for porn movies. But anyway, yeah. So anyway, this is the big thing that they served at this place because they had like strippers and stuff there.
The big thing they served
It
was Big
Thirsty
Jim Slade.
It was Thirsty Beaver, and the glasses always seemed a little bit dirty, and
I would hope so.
ever since then I've always been kind of like Thirsty Beaver, ew, gross. Maybe I'll have to give it another try.
It sounds like a punchline to a joke I haven't written yet, but I'm.
Oh, there is no punchline. It's just a joke.
Well, yeah. I got nothing, man. I got nothing. I don't know what to say to that at all.
Yeah. I try not to talk
I'm still back on impact creators, and now we're talking about porn. So
Yeah, well, give the viewers what they want, right?
that's right. We've already received several letters from people telling us what our programming should really be, and porn was on the list. So let's all now talk about Deep Throat 9 and the next penetration.
Yep, it just went there, folks.
Yep.
Oh,
Congratulations. We've achieved our pinnacle of quality. We're talking about Hound of the Barkerville Brown Ale. So, yeah. How's how's that local sports team? Oh, actually, which reminds me, I just want to point out that the Saskatchewan Roughriders are now 0-9 for the season.
That's not good.
Yep.
At least
I gather,
not for the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Blue Jays. Oh, wait a second. I better hang on.
Uh-oh. What's he doing? Shane, you can't leave a broadcast.
Yeah, Elvis has left the building.
So anyway, I just got to say that I just wanted to say something about the baseball team, the Toronto Blue Jays, not sucking this year as they normally do. Would you like to weigh in there, Alan?
You know, the Blue Jays have put themselves in a position year after year to actually be competitive, but they always lack one thing that puts them over that hump.
Okay.
In the past few years, what they've missed the past couple of years is having an ace pitcher, a guy that you can sort of like surround the team around.
Right,
okay?
Right.
And this year, everything looked bright because they had developed their own ace, Marcus Stroman. And he was going to be their ace.
Abe? Is that the brother of Abe Froman?
Stroman. Anyway, so... And they'd also acquired some other pieces like Mike Saunders and everything from the Mariners, and he's actually from Victoria. And everything looked really bright. And then spring training hit. And in the very first sort of practice at spring training, Mike Saunders trips over a sprinkler head, busts his knee, and is done for the year. Ooh. Then in the very next practice, their ace that they had developed themselves was fielding a routine bunt and hurt his knee and was done for the year. And that kind of spelled out how the Blue Jay season was going to go this year. They managed to turn it around by acquiring not just an ace, but the ace of aces, which is David Price. Now, I'll quantify that saying that David Price is not the best pitcher in Major League Baseball, but he's certainly, I would say, top 5. And the Blue Jays went and got him, and ever since they did, it knocked everybody else in their rotation down one notch. So they match up with teams a lot better, and that is why they're winning games.
That's interesting because, I mean, it's similar to the bad luck they had with some of their players, where we went from having one of the better quarterbacks in the league re-injuring his arm, and then having to basically be done for that season. And then our second string quarterback got hurt in the first game and was done. And we've been bouncing between the third and fourth string quarterbacks. And in our last game, which was last weekend, we lost again. And who knows, because they got rid of the fourth string, they fired him, and then they fired the coach and the GM at the same time, which I don't think was fair. I think when you have a quarterback, two
But
quarterbacks that are really
it's worse
decent.
than that. If you're not sure which bit isn't working, firing them all doesn't help you determine that. You know what I'm saying?
No, it definitely doesn't because I mean it was obvious what happened. The quarterback that's been around for a while and has been really good, having to basically take time off because he got hurt last year too, which sucked. And then the second quarterback getting hurt fairly early, and then I mean the third and fourth string quarterbacks, they're third and fourth string for a reason.
Okay, but
They're younger players. They have not got a lot of experience, and they did their best. I mean, when they played well, they were playing really well, but it wasn't consistent, which is kind of what you do when you're a young player.
Here's a real question though. In a game like football, is part of what makes you a good player that you take knocks well? Like, I mean. It's like having somebody on your team, in a construction crew, and he's really productive. Like he gets a lot done, but man, he's hard on equipment.
Yeah, I mean that's true as well. I mean, there's a whole bunch of that kind of stuff that that's really going on, and when you get hit with those sorts of bits of bad luck, it just compiles and it just gets worse and worse and worse. So I mean, last year was a decent year. It was definitely a building year because a bunch of our players retired and stuff like that. So, but firing the coach and the GM, I don't know. It's kind of I've been told that firing the GM and the coach is kind of what you have to do. I don't particularly think it was all that fair because I was watching the games and going, that player's not very good, and that's but he's the player we have to rely on. So if he's not very good and he's still getting he's slowly getting better as he gets more experience, then great. But it's just not going to happen this season. But yeah. But you know what? It doesn't matter.
Go Riders.
But you know what? I mean, if you're going to fire a GM, you may as well fire everybody else as well because when you bring in a new GM, chances are they're going to want to hire their own people anyway.
Yeah, exactly, and that definitely is probably going to happen. I mean, there's how many coaches for the average baseball team and for the average professional football team? There's like the coach, the GM. There's like the coordinator for whatever the hell, and then the sandwich guy.
Well, in baseball, there's almost more coaches than there are players.
So there's specialists in all kinds of things. So. Yeah. Is there an answer? No. It's professional sports, and sometimes you suck, and sometimes you don't. Like, not too long ago, we were rocking the world, and now we're not. So, although granted,
guess
none of the players are really.
Guess who won't rock the world this year?
Who?
The Vancouver Canucks.
Who?
Exactly.
Which reminds me, I heard a rumor that they were trading or planning on trading the Twins. What? Is that true?
No.
Okay, I heard that somewhere. Like, no way. What do you mean? How? Like,
I suppose it could happen. The Twins have no trade clauses, which means that if the Canucks do want to trade them, they have to approve it first, which generally means that they will give a list of particular teams that they want to go to. Secondly, they have an insistence of playing together, which makes trade partners, the amount of trade partners given the cap situation kind of difficult because I think combined they're making close to 15, 16 million a year. So you got to find a team that can take on $16 million a year in salary, and there aren't very many that can do that.
Right.
Plus, at their age, they want to go to a team that is competitive and is in line to compete for the Stanley Cup. And again, teams that are in line and in a position to compete for the Stanley Cup do not have $16 million in cap space. So basically, it's going to make it extremely difficult to trade the Twins, and I think they're Vancouver Canucks players for the rest of their careers.
Okay.
Wow.
But, I mean, they could just easily go back to Saskatchewan.
They could.
Sweden, Saskatchewan, same place.
Well, and that's something that will happen. They'll retire before their contracts are finished, and when they do, they'll default on. They won't get paid those final years, but they'll go to Sweden, and that's why they set up their contracts the way they do, where they're front loaded. They get paid more in the first years and less in the last years, so that they can retire and they're not really missing out on anything. But the Canucks get the benefit here and now by having a lower average cap hit.
Right. Well, sports are sports. Let's talk about movies and television and nerdy things, because that's what the Crafty Boys are all about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn straight.
We've talked about Star Wars recently. We've talked about all kinds of things. Alien as well, the Aliens films. I want to talk about something.
Toys.
What?
Toys. The new Star Wars toys.
Okay.
Come out for sale tomorrow night at midnight.
In advance of the movie?
In advance of the movie. So Toys R Us.
Try to act out the plot to figure out what's going to happen?
Yeah. Toys R Us is going to be open at midnight on Friday, and you can go, or I guess like tonight, and you can go and buy them. And it's like that BB-8 droid, that you see in the trailer, is like the big ball with a little head on it. That thing actually exists. You can buy it, and you can control it with an app on your smartphone. But it's like $150.
I want one. Although I have to admit, going to the Hasbro website right now, it makes me snicker when I see Star Wars: The Force Awakens 12-inch Chewbacca. 12-inch Chewbacca, you know what I mean?
No.
Do you want to bend my Wookiee? But yeah, actually, the big thing that I've found is for the new Star Wars toys, which I only looked at very briefly yesterday because they were in the news yesterday, was the new lightsaber, the Kylo Ren lightsaber, which has like the saber and
with the flamey things,
the utility knives, or whatever you want to call them, off the sides. Which basically make it look like a broadsword, which kind of looks cool at one level, but
it would seem kind of dangerous.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking. Because
it also gives me the unfortunate impression of the designers like pilfering from Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, pretty much any sword-based sort of.
Yeah.
But I mean. Yeah, sorry.
I don't know. I kind of feel like my big fear for the upcoming Star Wars movie is that, I really, really hope that what we get is a reflection of something relating to global history, and mythology as it's developed around the planet, rather than my biggest fear is that it's going to be an obvious United States-oriented political analogy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Keep going.
Like that it'll have some obvious reference to either the War of Independence or the Civil War, or you know what I mean? Like, I really hope that it's not that.
But even if it isn't that, some people will contort it in their own mind to mean.
Oh yeah, no. Like in the Cold War. You heard people going, well, obviously, Darth Vader is an image of communism. Really? You're gonna try to lay that on me? I don't buy that. But, Yeah, I just
I think there was more attempts to parallel some
Disney-
fascism, actually.
Disney's taken the reins on this. They're the production company. I mean, Americana is something that they do a lot of. I love what they did with the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. But to be fair, if they did that with Star Wars, I'd be let down. I think there's a higher standard that they need to adhere to. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
What are you laughing at?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We're
laughing
talking about the metaphors for Star Wars, and as soon as you started talking about metaphors, the speech from Reservoir Dogs about what Like a Virgin is about just keeps running through my head.
Okay.
Let me tell you what Like a Virgin is about. It's all about a girl who digs a guy with a big dick. The entire song, it's a metaphor for big dicks. I just can't. I was trying to suppress it, but it wasn't working. Oh shit! He's like Charles Bronson in The Great Escape. He's digging tunnels. Okay, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Are lightsabers dickish? Any sword is, I guess, theoretically. It's a big old pork sword,
You killed the podcast, Shane.
Count Dooku, I'd like to talk about your bent saber. Oh my god. Oh, sorry, man. I totally just. I could not get. I can't. It's still running around in my brain. So basically, well, here. How much do we really know about the plot?
Not a damn thing as yet, but I do know this. If it's properly a sequel, unless the Empire has found a sneaky way to revive itself, which seems unlikely given the way that that it ends. What we're dealing with is the difficult question of, okay, so you've had your little revolution. What next?
I have read a plot synopsis. It's not official. It's rumored a leaked thing, but it seems to fit with everything that has been released officially to this point. A lot of the imagery in the trailer seems to match up with it. I think basically what it comes down to, and again, this is not official. I'm trying not to give anything away, but that although the rebellion and everything was successful, there was still this aftermath that never was really dealt with. There are still Imperials around. They didn't all die out when the second Death Star was blown up. The Luke Skywalker didn't recreate the Jedi Order. He felt that he had brought the balance to the Force. There were no more Sith. Thereby, there should be no more Jedi. So it's just basically people just sort of trying to find their own way. I think what happens in it, based on what I read, is I can't remember the character name for the girl, but I guess she's in a junkyard somewhere, and she finds Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, the one that got cut off of his hand on Bespin. And that leads to, this starts the story along.
Sounds promising.
Yeah.
I could see that. I think that's actually not a terrible idea, because I mean, you think of all of the stories that have happened since in the extended universe, which started with Heir to the Empire, which basically, I mean, all of the stories that really, actually, I was just reading a collection of stories from like Star Wars magazine over the last 20 years kind of thing, and a lot of the stories talk about what happened after the second Death Star was destroyed, and basically it's kind of like a bunch of dudes flying around with their own little fleet get a memo of like, yeah, the Emperor's toast, so officially we're all kind of done. But all these dudes have got these very large vessels with a lot of men in them. They're like,
So what, they turned pirate?
essentially, there's two ways that the story's really been told. It's these dudes getting together and going, okay, well, let's just keep the Empire going because that's what we're here to do, right? It's like, well, do you guys want to stick together, or do you want to like go our own ways, or what? And kind of sort of that sort of mix of stuff.
To me,
I'm trying to think of how big the Galactic Empire really is. If it controls an entire galaxy, how many men? I mean, clones.
It would be a lot.
Do you actually need?
To me, the most exciting idea that they could do is if they bring it full circle. That is to say, they recreate a republic, but one with sufficient flaws that you can see how it bleeds into the situation that we had at the beginning of the prequels. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the elegant answer. That's what would be most complete in terms of a mythological narrative.
Right.
Question is, would there be enough drama there, though?
Ooh, I think there's always room for drama. You can filter it through different species, aliens, whatever you like. But we're ultimately, whether they're human or not, they're all sort of people, right? And what are people like? Oh, people are difficult. People are always capable of drama. Even when everything's going fine, they're capable of drama. If in fact the finer things are going, the more likely they are to cause drama. Specifically because that's what people are like.
I'll give you.
Yeah, the problem I have with the continuation of the Empire in the stories is, and this was never really explained, but this is kind of how I felt. If the stormtroopers were weak-minded and could be easily controlled by force-wielding people like, say, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and later Luke Skywalker, surely the Emperor could have had control over everybody in his army, right? So I kind of felt like the only reason why the Empire existed at all was because the Emperor willed it. And without the Emperor being there, then they would lose. It's kind of like, you cut off the head and the body will die. And that was my feeling, because it seemed like in Return of the Jedi, as soon as Darth Vader threw the Emperor down that pit on the Death Star, all there was on the Imperial side was chaos. That was when all of the it was after that point that suddenly the Super Star Destroyer went down, and you see all the other smaller Star Destroyers starting to blow up. You see people running around on the Death Star not knowing what to do. It was just complete chaos, but that did not happen until the Emperor was supposedly dead. So, I mean, that's my problem. I can't
think
see...
that says more about dramatic timing than anything else, though.
Yeah, so I mean, if
that's
that was the case, if that was the case, then there shouldn't still be an empire around to wield any kind of a power. But you know what? I'm willing to give it a chance.
Here's something to consider: the age that we live in presently, and consider that all science fiction is ultimately more than anything else, commentary on our present circumstances. Right now we live in a period of I would say aggressive levels of disorder. Now, I don't buy this nonsense about the migrant crisis. They're not migrants. They're fucking refugees. And we all know what's going on. Syria's fucking exploded, turned into a proper war. It's been a while since we've seen a proper war. Usually we like to use euphemisms like regime change or police action or crisis or, whatever it is, right? There's a proper war that's brewing in Syria right now. And everybody's running away fast enough that it's noticeable and it's being logged and tracked in a way that everybody's all of a sudden like, why are all these people trying to get, well, yeah, right, maybe you watch too much TV news. Yeah, I think we all know why they're trying to get into your country. It's not because they're trying to take your welfare from you or something. It's because if they stay where they are, they're going to get killed, right? So if you take that level of chaos and start to extrapolate, well, what would you talk about if you were making science fiction right now? You would talk about how people react when what was order suddenly dissolves. Now there's no more order. Do people automatically find this sort of like peaceful accord where everything's cool? I'm not sure that they do. And there's always potential for smaller factions that you had previously discounted as losers or not important, or they're not the big bully that controls everything from the top. But they're still sufficiently dangerous to make a lot of trouble, right? Yeah. So maybe that's where they're going to go with this thing. And I could see that being, both relevant in terms of you're trying to, talk to the audience that's living today about today, in a science fiction medium, and at the same time address these sort of larger sort of elements of narrative and mythology and all the rest. I could see that coming out.
It still doesn't change the fact that I have yet to have my own hoverboard.
Oh, but you know that you could just about build one. Like, what is a drone but a hoverer? If you had a drone that you could stand on, you have a hoverboard, yeah?
Well, actually, isn't there? Well, apparently there really is a hoverboard now, which I saw in some video just in the last week or so.
Yeah.
But I thought it was actually a fake one, but it wasn't. Apparently, this is a functional one.
It's a functional one, but you have to have it runs on magnetism, and you have to have a particular base under it.
Yeah, because it also has, and it works on water. But
you Bojo!
Because it's they have a supercooler. Basically, you have to supercool these magnets, and then when you put them in the board, then it works. But once they warm up, I guess it stops working. But hey, I'm excited about that kind of stuff. I mean, honestly, I think as soon as we get rid of money and we start living in a world that doesn't run on cash and currency, that I think we'll be better off. We won't be able to ride the bus, but at least we'll be better off, right?
What?
I'm waiting for Locke to be like, what the hell are
right.
you talking about?
How did you go from that to not being able to ride a thinking that?
And I didn't mean to get all heavy on everybody, but it's sort of like, yeah, okay. Somewhere between hoverboards and is the world heading for another global conflict? Yeah, I mean, the last thing I want to see is people hovering around on AK-47s taking shots at each other. But
Well, I mean, honestly, I agree. I mean, if essentially the next sort of war, if we have another world-based war, is going to happen because of the energy problem, where oil is going to do this, and people are going to be like,
but are we really like that? But that would be overly rational for my take on humanity.
Well,
I think we do stupid shit. I think most of our conflicts aren't really about what's important or even what's relevant. I think when we go down a dark road and start acting like jerks, it spreads in a way that we don't know how to calculate or, for that matter, correct for. And it starts with, oh, but I don't want my stuff disturbed, not in my backyard. I don't, I don't like it when stuff affects me. I don't, like, as Ozzy Osbourne so well put it, I don't want to change the world, and I don't want the world to change me. Like, get the fuck out of my face. But when you've got an actual situation that's bad enough that everybody is trying to get away from it badly enough that they're all, desperately trying to claw their way out, anywhere is better than where I am now, and the world has to suddenly deal with these people want to come to my place because they can't stay where they are. Now it affects me. Oh, but I didn't want it to affect me. I don't want to think about this. This isn't my problem. But now it is your problem. Yeah. And if you, cross your arms and go, oh, it's not my problem, it's still your problem because now you're being a jerk because if you were in that situation, you know damn well you'd want somebody to help you out. It's not their fault that that's happening in their country. It's, they're the ones who are trying, they're the ones who aren't the assholes who are trying to get away from it, right? I'm not saying that I know which end is up in that area. Like, you listen to Russian TV, and they're all like, well, Assad was a bad dude, but, he had very good reasons for thinking that there were crazy people in his country who were so sufficiently crazy that he had to take extreme measures. And maybe when you look at ISIS, maybe he wasn't totally, acting as arbitrarily as it's sometimes portrayed in the Western media. Then again, you take a look at how was Assad really acting? Fucking hell, that's not good. We can't have people gassing their own citizens. That's not good. Yeah. So it would seem to me that the time for, oh, well, this would have been the right answer. Like, that was an exit that we missed like 15 minutes ago, and now we're like driving in some direction that we're not really sure about, which is totally humanity style. Like, yeah, we don't know where we're going. Yeah, we're not really sure what we're doing. Yeah, we fucked up. Yeah, there's mistakes going on. No, we don't know where the next gas station is. Yes, we have to pee. And yes, there are kids in the back screaming and crying and singing fucking stupid Beer on the Wall songs. So, what do we do? Have another. And this will be my fourth of the evening, which is to say that I'm cutting back.
I was going to say, that's pretty light for you, man. Well, honestly, I was thinking about this the other day because just yesterday the video game Mad Max was released, which is an open world. You play a guy named Mad Max, and you basically are trying to. The whole goal of the game is you have a car that gets destroyed by the big villain named Commander Scrotus or something. I know it is Scrotus, but essentially the opening of the game is Max is being chased by his dudes, who are the guys that look like the guys who were in Fury Road, and they start beating on each other, and a few cars explode, and Max takes, and the guy, the main leader, Scrotus, has a big sort of pole arm that has a chainsaw at one end, and he starts the chainsaw and tries to kill Max, and somehow Max manages to grab the chainsaw and sort of divide the evil guy's head in half, and he doesn't die. So, and then your car gets, you lose your car, and you basically are starting from, they've stripped you, and you have nothing, so you have to build up again in order to defeat the big bad. But the one thing I was actually wondering about is I haven't read a whole lot about the Mad Max universe from the perspective of what the fuck happened. And they're talking essentially, I guess it was all about, they had a nuclear war. They don't talk about, at least I haven't read anything that says why the nuclear war happened.
I think the target moves movie to movie. Like if you watch the original
It was one financial crisis, I think, in the original or something. I don't recall.
It was gasoline was what was going on there, and then from there it's
I mean,
the
granted,
market
that was exactly when the
war.
crisis was happening when that film was produced, right? So,
Yeah.
And by the way, raise a bit of beer. Have I got any left here? Yeah, I do.
I mean, today I think if I'm correct, the crisis that they're representing in the movie today is MP3. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's raise your glass to Jimmy Carter, who last week announced that he has a terrible form of cancer.
Yeah.
And the only reason I'm thinking about this is that a couple of months ago I was reading some articles about Jimmy Carter, when he was president and whatnot, and the energy crisis that occurred, which was being driven by OPEC at the time, was blamed on Carter. Whether or not that's fair or not, but the guy has done a lot of really awesome things since, and it's unfortunate that he has I've forgotten what type of cancer, but apparently it's not awesome, and he's quite old, and he who knows what's going to happen next. But I respect that guy.
I think we all have a guess as to what's going to happen next. Does he? But yeah, cheers.
Yeah, he'll lay in state for a while, but hopefully that won't happen. Hopefully he'll live a bit longer. On that note. This episode's been everywhere. We've used our imaginations and gone all the way to
We've driven our imaginations in our imaginary cars.
In our imaginary cars, in our imaginary worlds, and we've of course talked about all kinds of crazy shit today. But any final words for you guys before we close this mother down? Thanks for jumping in, Dave. I'm certainly glad you're going to be telling us something really interesting right about now.
Something really interesting. I can show you something interesting there.
Oh shit! What was that?
Like a piece of paper that you were bad with. What was that?
Is that an X-ray?
Like of your nuts?
I guess it kind of looks like an X-ray a bit, doesn't it? It's a picture. It's just a picture.
Of what?
It's a picture I took of some ice that was formed on something.
Nice.
I thought it was cool.
I have a picture right here on my desk too. It's my beer card.
Nice.
You have a beer card?
Nice.
Yeah, it's my mug of beer card that you get when you take a Disney cruise. Essentially, when you go on a Disney cruise boat, you take this and you give it to the bartender, and they give you 22-ounce glasses.
Wow.
For like $5. So.
What?
Oh yeah, it's and apparently this card can only be used on all four of the Disney boats, because the Disney boats are really the only place you can get alcohol. Which is pretty much the only thing you can do to survive while you're cruising the Caribbean. So Alan, any final words? Actually, I guess we should say. Well, we're doing an episode next week before, but in a bit we're going to be attending Beer Fest in Victoria, which is, I think this will be my third. I think Alan, I think you've gone more than I have.
This is going to be like my.
So whether we can all attend or not, is there an opportunity here for us to have a conference call during Beer Fest so that we can do an episode where we're all on the call while you guys? I'm assuming we can rely on you, Alan, and Shane to get good and drunk and wander around and be boozing and carousing at Beer Fest, yeah?
I think we do have the intention, I believe, to videotape beer tastings and get the general ambiance of the event.
But more importantly, will you guys take a conference call with me and Dave on?
I actually have been looking into that. We can.
Okay.
There is a couple of ways to do it. It pretty much entirely on my phone, so the quality wouldn't be awesome. unless we do it after the
No.
event.
The quality would undoubtedly be awesome because of the presence of Dave and myself. But
This is true. Which reminds me, so Beer Fest is next Friday, and it is during the day. So, which of course, Locke, you of course will be where you are at the moment, I imagine, or in Toronto. Dave, what is your schedule?
I might be in
like
Ottawa
next?
actually, but
It might be in
Well,
Ottawa.
tell you what, why don't we talk about this after we close off?
Oh
this,
yes, good point.
episode,
Good point. Yes, thank
yeah,
you.
yeah, all right. Closing off.
Hound of the Barkervilles.
Let me say pleasant dreams and yeah, that.
And the Hound of
As they
Barkerville,
say in
yeah,
my
good
country,
beer.
The Hound of the Barkerville is a decent beer from the Barkerville Brewing. I
little bit more
forgot who
than
they were.
decent.
You'd think I'd remember. So pick it up if you can. It's a great brown ale. I like it. And as they say in my country, let's get the puck out of here.